From Transformers Age of the Primes, it is Solus Prime, who apparently has a forge. Yes, apparently she collects X-Men figures, has a forge, maybe a Cyclops. Wait, that's not what they mean. Okay, but a legendary one of the original 13 Primes, Solus Prime, is known for making stuff, which is kind of cool, you know? And she is deluxe size and definitely has a hammer. Now, for some reason, they're showing an Autobot symbol on the back, but they're not showing it next to her name, which kind of makes sense because she wasn't an Autobot back then. But we're going to go through this bit by bit and have some fun along the way. If you're new to the channel, I'm Captain Dale. Welcome aboard if you've been watching for a while. Thanks so much for coming back. That's totally awesome of you. And it's time to meet Solus Prime. Be right back. So as you can see, again, the window box, I love the fact that they are back to window boxes. Makes it much more difficult for people to pop off heads and stuff like that. Packaging looks pretty good. There she is on the side. On the other side is the electrum-coated statues of the 13. That's what I'm calling it. And on the back, you can see she has two modes. Robot mode shows her hammer and this kind of armored car type thing. On the bottom, it has a bunch of symbols. And the top, it has a flap. All right, time to break out Solus Prime. In the past, I haven't always gone over the packaging, but I started doing that, and I hope you enjoy that part. All right, what we find in here is Solus Prime, attached to cardboard, with Autobot paper, which is not appropriate. Again, use some discretion. White paper would be fine for one of the 13. Shitty piece of paper. Instructions. And we don't need a box. But we do need to get Solus Prime off of this cardboard prison. We need to get the accessories off as well. And there she is. I'm going to do a little zoom in on her. And then I'm going to get this plastic crap off my table. And we don't need that. So I am going to open up this tissue paper, which inappropriately has Autobot symbols on it. Let's see what's inside. We have the head of the hammer. Almost looks like a phaser though. We have part of the hammer here, which I think plugs in like so, because I don't see any other way. And then there's the base of the hammer, which plugs in like so. I didn't even look at the truck. So let's put her on the turntable of doom. And I'm guessing that to put the hammer in her hand, you take it apart, shove it up the bottom, shut up Logan, and then hop on the head. Shut up Logan. All right. And I was 100% correct with all of that stuff. So let's give her a spin. Though, if she doesn't want to carry around her hammer, and honestly, when all you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail. You can attach it, as long as you put it back together appropriately, to the back. Now you have a little long slot, but it goes into this roundish hole. I'm sorry, that is not the case. You actually have to push out this post. Much better. And that goes into the roundish hole. And it's now mounted on her back, and she can reach over her shoulder, pull it out, raise her magic hammer above her head and say, "By the power of Cybertron," or something like that. She is subject to the laws of physics, centrifugal force. There, push her back in a little bit. I'm going to take off the hammer for now. We're going to go over some posability. So before I go over the posability, I just want to mention, if you haven't already checked it out, we have memberships now into our Spotlite. We have a monthly members-only live stream where I break out weird things from my collection, talk about weird theories, give previews of coming attractions, and basically answer all your questions, your deep, burning questions. What did I tell you? If it burns when you... Anyway. So, check that out. But now, back to the posability. All right. So, looking at her feet, she has extremely generous ankle swivels. And if you put her crotch cover out, might be able to get her even lower. In fact, let's check it out. Can she do a full Jean-Claude Van Damme? Toes up, not a problem. Of course, you have to put her, I don't know what this is called. Is it part of a skirt? It's just like in the front. I don't know if there's a technical term for that type of clothing, but there it is. Now, because that's there, and it actually splits into pieces, it doesn't really interfere because it bends with her front kicking. So she can kick pretty high. However, going backwards, not as high because of the basically roof and hood of the car right there. But obviously side kicks, not a problem. Bending at the knee, very nice. And she's got this little spike here for really making her point. The lower leg, ankles, she can swivel there. The top of the leg does not swivel as much, but you can definitely swivel the lower leg. And she's got a weird extra joint, but I think that's probably part of the transformation. And her foot fell off. but it looks like it just pops right back in there. So not a problem. Now, in some countries, I understand it is a way of showing your displeasure of throwing your shoe at somebody. She could take off her whole foot and huck it at somebody. So there you go. So another spin on the turntable of doom. And let's get to twisting at the waist. And she can all the way around. Very nice. Arms can go all the way around, bends at the elbow, swivels. Arms can go out to the side. Now she's got these shoulder pads because, again, Transformers came out in the 80s and they're constantly referencing that. So when she puts her hand out to the side, it kind of straightens those out, but that's perfectly fine. And that's pretty much it. The shoulders themselves can be posed in different ways. Her head, now you kind of have to push on the bottom of this to pull back the hood, but her head can go all the way around. If you have it forward, it's going to like scrape her face and you don't want that. And then she's got the multi-faceted crotch guard and camel toe. Let's hide that for you. So deca wise, I like the silver. The combination of purple and yellow is nice. Now purple is generally a Decepticon color, but from what I understand, she did not have Decepticon tendencies, nor did she even know what Decepticons were when she came around. So, Order in the Court, nice hammer. I like her. She's pretty cool. All right, let's transform. So there she is in vehicle mode, kind of armored car, drags her almost, and you can take her hammer and apparently store it like so, which I think is kind of meh. But I have to say, I don't really like her transformation, and I will tell you why. Because these shoulder pieces that you have to put into place can pop off very easily, and then you gotta pop them back on, and then you gotta readjust. And these side pieces can also pop off very easily. I mean, it's good that it doesn't break, but at the same time, it's almost like they made the transformation almost complex for the mere idea of it needs to be complex, which I don't think it needs to be. And so it took me a bit to make sure that these pieces, these shoulder pieces, stayed on. I also realized I didn't measure her in robot mode, so she's going back to that. But in vehicle mode, almost, if you don't count the tail, but well, it's 4¼ inches to the little tail on the top. It's like 4½. All right, roll test. Rolls pretty dang well. So I have no problem with the rolling. I just think the transformation, things pop off too easily and it was kind of a pain in the ass. But she looks nice as a vehicle, nice gold windows, gold accents there. Can't really tell too much from the bottom. Yes, she is a nice looking vehicle. Almost reminds me of Springer's vehicle mode. Yeah, the transformation's kind of a pain in the ass, just because of things popping off. I think if they made the shoulders so that they wouldn't pop off so easily, it might actually work out better. And these little plates that are on the shoulders, they also can pop off pretty dang easily. Pop back on easily enough. But the shoulder pieces themselves, when they pop off, it's on the end of a stick, well, a post that bends, so it can be a little bit more difficult. In robot mode, she's about 5¼ inches tall. And I do have to say, she is a cool looking figure. I'm glad I have her, but I don't know that vehicle mode is something I'm going to be very happy to put her in, just because the parts that pop off, her feet popped off, these plates on her arms popped off, her shoulders popped off. I don't really like things that fall apart too easily. That's just my thought. Still, I'm glad I have her, and I will put a link in the description so you can pick her up. A worthy addition to your collection, I hope. And she will have fun hanging out with the other 13 Primes. And speaking of fun, I hope you're having fun watching these videos. And if you do like this content, by all means, feel free to go ahead and subscribe. That would be totally awesome. And while you are mulling over Solus Prime, you can actually check out another of the 13, Primal Prime, and he's set to Prima Donna. And we will see you next time. As always, have fun and good hunting.